What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another great episode. DJ Reacts. You know what it is. We got an absolute banger today. A lot of weird stuff going on. A lot of uncertainty in the world right now. So we got some stuff to talk about. We got some stuff to look at, and I hope you guys are interested because it's some really important stuff. As always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe anything that I say. Don't believe anything that you see on these videos. Do your own research. And on that note, yeah, let's get into it.
Pay attention because this CIA agent is going to tell you exactly when World War III is going to happen.
World War III is not going to look like World War II. We were talking about this a little bit earlier with the idea of proxy wars. Proxy wars are a tool that superpowers use to fight against each other without expending their own human lives. We've been in proxy wars since 2012. Syria, Yemen, Libya, we're all proxy wars. And those are just the major proxy wars. We're not even talking about some of the wars that you've seen in Thailand, in Myanmar, conflicts that have happened all across Latin America, coups in Africa. They're all smaller, less newsworthy proxy wars, and Americans are totally blind to it. In many ways, I would argue that we're already in the beginning phases of World War III. And World War III looks like proxy war between the world's largest economies, which those economies are starting to band together, right? World War II was defined by Axis and allies. Remember that? You had Italy and Germany, Nazi Germany, and Japan all working together with some other countries. And then you had the UK and the Americans and the Australians all working together with countries like Russia and China as the allied powers. We're already seeing that happen now. You're seeing it in the UN. You're seeing it with NATO. You see Russia, China, Iran, North Korea coming closer and closer together, pulling Turkey into their own sphere of influence.
Sorry to pause right there. That should put fear in you. That should absolutely put a decent amount of fear into you, you know. And shout out to Justin. I love that dude. He's awesome. Not just because he's mixed like me, but he's awesome. You know, he's an actual former CIA spy. Did a lot of intelligence work, and that was a field I was going to go into when the FBI came recruiting me. So yeah, shout out to him. But yeah, these are things that you should really be looking into because you're seeing a lot of that now. You're seeing, you know, these countries that don't like America coming together when America looks weak and America's doing dumb shit. The rest of us, and I can say this, you know, as a former outsider, you know, we would look at America in certain ways. But just like here, we don't have the full picture over there, just like you don't have the full picture over here. But seeing countries like Russia, China, Korea, or even Turkey or any Arab state all coming together, that's scary. That should really scare you. It shouldn't scare you in a way to where, you know, we can't defend ourselves. It should scare you in the way to where they can make us obsolete, as in the rest of the world would not deal with us. So let's continue.
You see Poland, Germany, the UK, the United States, Canada, all pulling together, right? And you see the countries, the world itself dividing along these axis and allied powers again. That's, to me, signs that the world is already preparing for a long-term engagement, a long-term war. The war just won't look like nuclear weapons and bombers taking over cities. It's going to look like a line of third world countries that everybody's going to fight over. And there's going to be devastation in these third world countries that are resource rich countries, mineral rich countries, strategically important countries. But the majority of the population will stay calm because they won't feel like they're at war. World War I, World War II, you had mass panic, you had hysteria. People were terrified all the time. Children hiding under desks because there was a war going on, and everybody could use that word. We've grown. Governments have grown much smarter since then. They don't want people talking about war. They want people worried about nuclear weapons because that makes you support your own government. But as soon as you're at war, we learned in Vietnam, the people can turn against.
Pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so on point with that. And he's right. They don't want you talking about war. They don't want you talking about any of this. But I always say they're always trying to put fear in the agenda. You know, as long as they can put some kind of fear and division, then they can conquer easily. And they do it. Lots of people are so stupid to where they let fear take over and they allow that to divide us when we should be united like the rest of these places. But we're too busy over here because it doesn't feel like war, you know? I don't know. I was behind the Iron Curtain in the late 80s. So I wasn't in Russia. I was in the Soviet Union. I was one of very few people who were not Russian that was in the Soviet Union, child. And yeah, I saw a lot of stuff. I talked about it on one of my videos, you know, and that's where a lot of my training came from. And you know, I don't have a problem with Russia. Russia's a great country. You know, I stayed there for a while. But, you know, these other places, you know, there's just so much corruption. I mean, there's corruption everywhere, but those places, the corruption is just, the corruption is what they deal in. They deal in corruption, you know? So, let's move on.
The most concerning thing to me is definitely the fact that China has gotten to a place, specifically with China. The most significant thing about China is that it's gotten to a place where it has the potential to direct next steps in Europe. Hypersonic missiles, Huawei, rare earth minerals, Belt Road Initiative, they're involved in all sorts of stuff. That one thing, to me, is the most imminent, pressing concern. Because if they figure out how to do that, there's no way we're touching Taiwan or keeping Taiwan safe. If they figure out how to negotiate peace between Ukraine and Russia, for sure they're going to win Taiwan. And we're all going to be sitting around wondering how it happened. The most...
Yeah, and it's funny, if you notice like some of the most, well, not some of the most mineral rich places on the planet. So you've got Africa, all of those little states within Africa have been at war, you know, at some point or another, constantly for as long as I can remember, you know. I mean, they had apartheid, and that was just done away with recently, you know, and then within the 90s. And then you had, but you still have all of these countries coming in there, destroying Africa to get to this gold, because Africa was the richest. I'll figure out the name, and when I figure out, I'll post it right up here. But he was the richest king anyone had ever seen. This was in like the I want to say the 16th century, 17th century. But anyways, some people from England went over there, and they were just amazed that that they had, you know, just gold everywhere, buildings in gold, statues, gold all over them. Excuse me. And as a gift, that king, he was so generous to where he would gift his visitors, you know, just boxes of gold. You know, they had that much and still have that much, and that's why to this day you see all of these countries over there fighting over, you know, what's now known as blood diamonds, and they're over there taking the gold, you know, so they're destroying that beautiful continent for this bullshit, you know. You're talking about beautiful, serene, you know, jungle, just absolutely amazing. And they're destroying it. And I talked about this in one of my other videos, to where the locals there barely get any of it. So what they've done is they've created a hierarchy between themselves. And so, you know, they set up these little makeshift shops, but they don't have the right ventilation. And so they're in there using mercury. You know, the little bit of gold that they get, the little bit that they can pocket, or little pieces that they can find, you know, they take it to the smelter, and the smelter uses mercury to bring it together, but they don't have the money for an actual ventilation system. So they're breathing in all of this mercury, and it's just destroying them, you know. Mercury will destroy your entire body, your central nervous system, your brain, everything. So with the Mad Hatter, I said this in another video, Mad Hatter, you know, that's why he was called the Mad Hatter, because hat makers used to work with mercury, and they would breathe it in. That's exactly what they're doing. So it's like all these countries have their hand in Africa, and they're sending these crews of people out there, and they want to stake their claim. And it's the same thing. It used to be the same thing in the Middle East. It's not like that anymore. Africa's like that, though, because it is so mineral rich with everything. Africa has a lot of everything. And the sad thing is the African people are so close to nature that they don't really give a shit about that stuff. You know, well, they didn't used to, but once Westerners came in and let them know, hey, we got all this stuff here, and we want it, so, but we're going to give you a cut if you work with us. So they're like, yeah, okay. But before, they didn't even care about it because they had forgotten their history. It's sad. It's very sad. You're destroying beautiful, I mean, you're destroying, you know, hundreds of thousands, not million-year-old forests for what? For minerals that do what? Look pretty? It's stupid. In my opinion, it's stupid.
We're taught that human beings only have three resources that matter. There's time, energy, and money. That's it. Every other resource boils down to one of those three resources: time, energy, and money. For you to accomplish anything, it takes a certain balance of time, energy, and money. So when it comes time for you or I to live our public life, we go to a restaurant, we go to I was just at MegaCon, a big comic book conference, right? I was there with my kids and my wife. It takes a certain amount of money to buy the ticket, money to invest in the hotel room and everything else. It takes a certain amount of energy to put up with all those people and the lines and your kids going crazy for MegaCon and your wife trying to get in line to meet Beverly Crusher, right? From Star Trek. So there's a certain amount of energy that goes into it. And then, of course, there's a time element. When you meet with somebody, you have to understand how those three resources are being used at any given time. So if you meet somebody at the beginning of the day, they're most likely fully resourced. You meet somebody at the end of the day, the gas tanks are at different levels. Energy might be lower. Time is probably running on empty. Money might be safe. It helps to know the financial status of your client or your target, right? So you have to understand how people's resources are different. The more a person's resources are depleted, the closer they get to their true Myers-Briggs personality.
That is interesting.
When they're fully resourced, they can fake it. They can act extroverted. They can take extra time to think something through. They can be non-judgmental. But when they're tapped, when the end of the day comes and they're fried, that's when you see who they really are. So a big part of the process of bringing someone from public life to secret life is to drain them of their resources systematically so that you can see who they really are, because it's when they're in that low point that you can essentially replicate or mirror their core personality back to them, and then they let you into that secret life. You're not going to let someone into your secret life who's different than you. So you have to mirror back to them what you believe their true personality to be, and then they're like, if you like that, let me show you this other thing.
Dude, that's crazy. Okay,
It's
so
not that different, man, than what you and I just did off camera when we were talking about comics.
100%. Were you folding your arms on purpose?
No.
Because at one point I noticed we both had our arms folded, and I was like, okay, are we mirroring right now? Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
No, I was not mirroring you there. I'm just a little bit cold.
My bad. I said Justin. I meant Andrew. But yeah, he's got so many skills that I share with him, and one of the big things he talks about is one of the greatest skills you can have is being able to put yourself into someone else's shoes. And it's a lot more than how it sounds. You know, for you to truly be able, and I used to study you know, human nature, why people do what they do, and all the places that I've been. And also, you know, even Galileo said something like a true master of the mind can observe something and be subjective towards it, but not actually believe it. So they kind of go together. Like, you can understand, you can put yourself in someone else's shoes once you understand certain things. Like, you hear about a person that, you know, might have been, you know, on meth and stabbed a 90-year-old woman, you know, 143 times for $6. Yeah, I can absolutely understand. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I can understand what drove that person to do that, because I understand what that drug does to the mind and the body. And, you know, especially with lack of sleep, you know, so you can understand and put yourself in other people's shoes. That's a very powerful thing to be able to do. And it makes your everyday life a lot easier too, because once you understand things, like, I expect stupid people to do stupid things, so when they do dumb shit, I'm not shocked or appalled by it. Excuse me. Usually. Sometimes people actually surprise me. I'm like, I didn't think I'd see anything new, but that's fucked up. But yeah, I mean, that's something I say all the time. You know they're stupid. Expect them to do stupid shit. Just, you know, keep them at arm's length. You that's what they've always done. So expect them to do what they've always done. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's a powerful, very powerful thing uh, to be able to notice. Because if you notice, with all of us that have been waking up lately, you know, this beautiful shift that we've got going on, and it's like the world doesn't like it. You know, not the world, but, like, you know, the powers that be, and the people that, you know, are pulling the strings. You know, they're causing, you know, they're behind all of these wars. They profit off of all of the sides. You know, I don't give a shit what president of what country is on there telling you anything. That man is just a puppet. Even Putin is less of a puppet than, say, Biden, because Putin is a thug. He was an actual KGB agent, you know, so he has a lot of blood on his hands. But, you know, he's still a puppet, and at the end of the day. But Russia has a very strategic advantage in the fact that they were called the Iron Curtain because it was almost impossible to penetrate their walls to get into their country and to get information out. So, and the other part of that is they don't care. They don't want to be like the rest of the world. They don't want to be connected to the rest of the world. Not saying all of them. Russians are beautiful people. I'm talking about like government, the people like well, I mean, they still have KGB. They just changed their name to FSB. But yeah, so when you can understand that and like people or the reasons people do that, it's a very powerful thing. But also when you notice, like, I don't know if you guys noticed this shift, you know, years ago when it started happening. I remember I was seeing people in the hood in Chicago. You know, I'm seeing like 15, 16-year-old kids in the hood in Chicago. And, you know, they're on live crying, you know, talking about, you know, visions they're having, things that are going on with them, things that they're seeing. And folks are just, you know, talking shit like, bro must have spoke some bad shit, blah, blah, blah. You know, same old, same old. But, you know, I started paying attention then to specific areas because I was like, wow, I would have never thought I would have seen that on a live. You know, like I could get that if it happened to him and then he kept it to himself, but no, he was, you know, he felt like he had to deliver that message. That is the beautiful thing. So not only are these wars, you know, these proxy wars, very important, but you've got a whole other war going on also, you know, and that's, you know, us, light workers, truth seekers, indigos, you know, the people who can remote view, the people who can do certain things, people who are helping raise the vibrations, which are all of you that follow me, that are like me, and all of the other people like us. The vibrations are raising. You know, we're switching densities, which has never happened on this planet alone at all. And it's pretty much the greatest show in the universe right now. That's why you've got all of these different factions of call it the galaxy or call it the Galactic Federation, whatever you want to call it. You've got all of these different species just watching us and paying attention because this has never happened. They can measure that. We can measure Earth's frequencies and Earth's vibrational frequency rising. We can physically measure that. They can measure it from far away to where we can't see them. And so it's never happened before. And so it's happening not only to Earth, but to us. So it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a very beautiful thing. Sorry for the blab. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Dude, the stuff they have that they probably don't tell us about. How much of that is real?
Yeah, it's pretty real.
Have you seen some stuff that made you go, holy shit?
Yes.
They can do that?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And
how much can you tell us?
Well, you know what? One thing that they're doing, and this is actually something I wanted to talk about today, because it's going to affect everybody. It's not just something that is going to affect people in the military or else in the intelligence community. But one of the things that they've been working on is, imagine you got to rock up on a target. And before you do that, before you get the customers on site, and you're going to hopefully obtain some high value targets there at that location. Before you do that,
you got like euphemisms.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before you're going to nuke people.
Yeah, before you're going to go in there.
Blow terrorists into another dimension.
Well, sometimes, actually, I was going to say sometimes you want to actually capture them and get their intelligence. We've gone past that, right? Because the years where we were getting our ass kicked for holding on to people in detention facilities, you know what that did? That pretty much convinced everybody that was involved in this to just whack them, right? Because then you don't have to deal with the aftermath. You don't have to worry about, are you going to get in trouble for interrogating somebody? Right, exactly. So that actually increased the lethality of operations. You started painting targets and just blowing the shit out of there rather than trying to grab the target and get their intel. That's a problem because then the pipeline dries up for the intel. But anyway, so imagine you got this site. The first thing you got to do is determine if your target's there, right? And it's not like that, the Tom Clancy movies where, you're looking through walls and all this shit. That technology, night vision devices, and that ability in low light conditions to monitor and to identify specific individuals has always been a problem. They've made great strides on it to the point now where in no light conditions, right? With the right stacked database, with the right information in that database, meaning the right amount of information about individuals, right? You constantly populating this database with new faces or with new photographs of individuals that you're going after. With enough of that to sift through, they're getting to the point now with no light conditions that they can identify positively the targets in that room or the targets in that facility or in that building, whatever it might be.
That just made me think about something. Funny thing is, so how we all have fingerprints, right? And that's something that the U.S. goes by. The U.S. legal system, the courts, recognize fingerprints, scientific evidence. But lie detectors, polygraphs are inadmissible in a courtroom. But it's really interesting. There's a lot of countries that actually use ears. So they can identify you by your ears. Because no two people have the exact same ears. England is one of those countries. Yep. MI6. They look at the ears too. They don't just go by fingerprints. Like if they don't have tangible fingerprints, but they've got you on video and can get a good shot of your ear, that's enough for them. They can pull that data together and match it. Just thought that was interesting. Let me apologize. I did not know that this was from the History Channel, and I despise playing things from the History Channel because they have a major agenda. I disagree with it wholeheartedly. If you notice, whenever they ask a question, the answer that they also give is yes. It's always ancient astronaut, blah, blah, blah. Could they have done? Yes. Could Jesus have? Yes. Could the earth have? Yes. There's no actual, there's no critical thinking going on. It's just an agenda. But I will say that so what they're talking about, I don't know how many of you have read about this or looked into it. So they're talking about Agartha, which is what Admiral Byrd flew into. And so there's 2 entry points on this planet. That's the history of it. And so of course, one is in Antarctica, the other one is in Tibet. And so it's said that there's a group of Tibetan Buddhist monks that are strictly there to protect the entryway to Agartha, or what was the other name? It began with an S. Shamala, something like that. Anyways, but Agartha, the big one, and from Tibet, it's a long way down. Not a hard way down. It's just long. From higher up, and so the monks guard that entryway, but the way you cannot force yourself in. So your soul, your spirit, has to be properly aligned for you to ever even, like, say you got past all of the monks and you got through them all and you just went in, a force would stop you going any further because you're not vibrating on the proper frequency. haven't, that's why they brought Admiral Byrd in. Admiral Byrd, remember, this is the most decorated naval officers to ever live. He does not have any reason to lie. In fact, he had every reason to not say anything about this, and that's what they told him to do. But what he talks about is they brought him in on his second trip because they saw that he was a man of honor and truth, and that he was the type of person that they wanted to show this to. So they had already, from miles away, they had already looked at that man's soul, connected with his soul, and then took over his plane and brought him in. So yeah, I absolutely believe that there's an interior civilization to the Earth, and I know that they have a sun, but it's not like our sun. So it never goes completely dark there, but the sun isn't as hot as ours, obviously, but it's a lot closer as well, and there's a lot of humidity there. I do know those things. I can't tell you how I know, but I know those things. And there's a lot of different species that live. It's big. It's big. It's not hollow Earth like you would think, but it's huge. It's very huge. It's all kinds of stuff there.
Earth can be located within the confines of our own planet. Historically, underground realms were not relegated to mere mythology. Well-respected scientists and mathematicians have long speculated about a theory that became known as Hollow Earth.
The scientist Edmund Halley is most famous for Halley's Comet. He was also very interested in the Earth, and one of the challenges was trying to figure out what was the real structure of the inside of the Earth. He had a fascinating theory of not just a hollow Earth, but an Earth with multiple layers.
75 years later,
if we set a glass of water or any container of water in a ring, the water immediately begins to emit light. You can't see it with the naked eye, but it can be measured with various instruments. And we find full visible spectrum as well as ultraviolet being naturally emitted from the light under stimulation by this energy field.
The other thing I do, I use my tools on energizing water, and that's absolutely fantastic. My energy level has gone up tremendously.
Since we are light bodies and all of our communications within the body takes place through electrons or photons, the amount of photonic energy in the body is increased. Consequently, the energy level of the body is increased. So drinking water potentized with a ring has quite beneficial effects in both short and long term.
I love the rings, and I have big rings underneath my bed, and I sleep over them. So I have them, along the chakras, and I find that just helps me sleep really well. I also love the little rings that I can wear as bracelets. So if I have a long day typing at the computer, then I'll often put these on my arms, and I find that it just really helps me remain calm. And I've never, had any repetitive stress injury or any problems that are associated with a lot of computer use.
I use it on my food as well. I put the food on a plate and that on top of the rings. I find with fruit, for example, when I had some friends round and I cut up some apples and some pears, and after a few minutes, these apples, they go brown. Well, my friend Jackie came round and she said, hang on a minute, how long have these apples been on the plate for? They're not going brown. I said, I know. They're on these rings. So it's fantastic. They seem to give extra life force, energy. And, as we're made out of water, mainly water, it has a wonderful effect on you.
Have any of you experienced tensor rings? I personally have not. Let me know if you have. I'm curious as to what your experience is. I've heard of them. I've seen them. I've never actually used them before. But I do have wave generators, frequency machines. So they send out specific waves on a specific frequency, and that's more so to not only kind of even out everything with all of the electronics that's around, Excuse me. I'm very sensitive to electronics, which is weird because that's the field I'm in. But but yeah, the buzzing, like if you go by a power plant or like a generator, that buzzing and you can feel that. That's what I feel at night, just in bed. I can feel that, and I don't have a lot of electronics in my bedroom, so it bothers me. But I have these little generators. In well, one's called a rodent coil. Coiled big, and then you can get the smaller ones, and you know, this is just all based on the fact that you can heal the body without having to tear it up. Heal the body, vibration and frequency. And the crazy thing is, this is becoming so popular now, but this is old technology. This is over 300,000 years old. You know, the Atlanteans, the original Egyptians, lots of civilizations were doing this. And if you notice what I said about, you know, the actual body and the Rockefellers, you know, they changed the frequency of music. I can't remember the actual frequency, but the original frequency of music was the same as church, like 400 something, and it was a healing frequency. But then when they started to take over the music industry, they changed that frequency to five something, the high 500s, and that's a damaging frequency. And that's why music started having these different effects on, you know, as progressed throughout the 50s and 60s up until now. But before then, that's why people will say, you know, you work and listen to classical music, you know, it helps you think better, even if you're not just actively listening to it, you're just kind of passively listening to it as you work. But yeah, that's because that music is still on those frequencies. But they try to change this whole agenda thing. It's everywhere. It's in your face. It's disgusting. So, yeah. Do you guys have any contingency plans for any of this stuff? You know, one thing, I've got a reverse osmosis machine, and it distills my water, but it also adds in minerals and electrolytes. But it does reverse osmosis and distills my water. And so I have, like, right now I have about a month's worth of water. So I have about double the amount of water that 3 people would need a day for 1 month. 3 adults. So, and the same with, well, 3 months. 3 months worth. But, you know, I just don't know what's coming, and I want to be prepared and have something there to depend on, you know, because if you think about, like, people are talking about Russia, you know, building this, or sending this satellite up into space. It's got a massive EMP on it, and if they were to, you know, they were to just aim that at us and let it off, going back into the Stone Age, Dark Ages. And within 1 year, they say 90% of the population would be dead from starvation, disease, and then you've got the looting factions that would form. You know, it's going to be like a mix of like Mad Max and Walking Dead. You know, so yeah, it's not going to be a fun time. I'm just trying to be just like all those, you know, rich people with their bunkers. But see.
Let me draw some uncomfortable dots and ruin your night. Before we start, this is all speculation. This guy right here is Epic Paranormal. He was at a Lena Del Rey concert, and he said that his phone was glitching, and every picture it would take would make the people look like a straight up demon, right? Well, I'm gonna show you that first, but when I saw that, it reminded me of something very, very, very particular.
Camera kept glitching.
Your camera was not glitching, my friend. Those are real life demons. Whether they are possessed or just straight up a demon, that's exactly what we're looking like. You remember the movie They Live? My man had some dissonant glasses. If y'all have not seen this, you need to go see it. He puts the glasses on, he sees things how they really are, takes them off, and they go back to normal. It's called They Live. Literally showing us the exact same thing we're seeing at that concert. And we're about to get into some speculation right here in 1 second. They're among us. They live. Get it? It appears our cameras have the same exact problem filming Congress. The creator is the top left. It's odd. And this is all alleged, by the way, but it would not surprise me one bit if all these people were demons, or at least demonically oppressed, or possessed, would it not? He's recording it right off the TV screen. I don't know if he has some special glasses for his camera, alleged speculation, whatever. I believe it. They live, like they literally live, and they are among us, allegedly. Good luck sleeping tonight.
Now, see, that's interesting, because with what I do for a living, my initial instinct would go to, maybe the refresh rate of that TV is not matching the aperture rate of his camera, or maybe there's pixelization or something like that, but I saw no lines, I saw no pixelization, and it looked completely normal. It just looked like he was taking a real video, and that camera was showing things how they really are. And that doesn't shock me at all. Most cameras, even your phone, can see infrared, like if you turn your camera on and you take a remote like this, point it, I'll just do it. Point it. I'll be able to see it like this. So, yeah, see, right there. Yeah, so your phone camera can see infrared easily. Changed all my stuff, but yeah, so that doesn't shock me at all that he's able to see that. Especially Congress. Who trusts them?
Kanye West just snatched a reporter's phone, and it gave us the perfect example of what happens whenever somebody who stands with God faces a lesser demon or a jinn.
She's TMZ. What do you feel like it's okay? I'm a human being. All of this TMZ, this 30 miles on y'all sex celebrities, all this bullshit. I don't give a fuck what y'all got to do. What y'all gonna do? What y'all got to.
Now, regardless of what you guys want to say about Kanye, he's been historically correct. And this reporter you're dealing with, you could see it on her face. This woman has 100% some kind of attachment that is just draining her down to the core. Now, when somebody that has an attachment to this level is confronted and face to face with somebody who has a strong connection to God, they crumble immediately. But it's what he said in the next clip that really set it off for me, that told me everything I needed to know.
You should get free will? Are you crazy? You insane? This is America. You got free will, or you work for the devil? You got free will? You work for TMZ company? I'm a legend. You understand that? I'm here to support Charlie Wilson. You come to ask me some dumbass shit about my wife. That's my wife. You understand? You wasn't asking shit when I couldn't see my kids. When I couldn't, do you have questions? Do you have questions when I wasn't able to see my kids?
The reporter asked him, does your wife have free will? And when he looked in her eyes, he asked her straight up, do you have free will, or do you work with the devil? When he spoke those words, it told me immediately that he knew exactly what that woman was. It didn't have anything to do with her working for TMZ. It had everything to do with he looked into her and saw that attachment. Now in this next clip, Kanye tries to explain this to people, but because the level of creativity that's in him, it's hard for him to articulate and explain it in that way.
Your last name and address. What are we doing?
I just need my phone.
Where is your phone? No, she came to me and said, does your wife have free will to speak? She worked for TMZ.
How do you know each other?
Yeah, how do you know me, miss?
When he turned to the police officer and explained what the woman had just said, he was trying to make a point and explain what that woman truly was. None of this had to do anything with her being a part of TMZ. And although the questions she said were quite rude and he had some really good points to defend it, the reason why this set him off is because he was face to face with the devil once again. And this is the same group of people who have tried to tear him down from day one. Now imagine being so egotistical that you think you could cancel Kanye. And I'm just glad this was all caught on camera, because this is the perfect example to show you guys what happens when a lesser demon becomes face to face with somebody that has a strong connection to God.
I love Kanye. I don't like the way he mismatches his words, because first he says he came face to face with the devil, and then at the end he says when a lesser demon comes into contact with somebody who has connection to God. So I don't like mincing words like that. If you're gonna say something, be specific about it, you know. But it definitely wasn't the devil or Satan or Lucifer. She was probably had some demonic attachments or negative attachments. I doubt that at all. I mean, the guile those people have. You know, props to Kanye standing up for himself and clapping back. You know, I mean, I would never want to live that life to where wherever I had to cover myself up wherever I went, and I've got these crazy ass people that just want to invade my life and take any kind of photo and just get a non-normal photo of, you know, get a photo of me digging my nose or something, or hawking a loogie, or, you know, something stupid that they can just put out there and make a bunch of money off of. I would never want to be like that. So, you know, he's got some issues, but I've always been a fan of Kanye's. Yeah, he's bipolar and he didn't know it, but, you know, he's handled it pretty well. I've always had Kanye's back. I love Kanye. He's a true creative genius. He realized that when he wanted to be that creative genius and someone that looks like him to a bunch of Europeans, he got blackballed. Even though, you know, because he doesn't come from those bloodlines, he doesn't have that lineage, you know. So he talked about that a lot years ago. He was trying to go to Saint Laurent and Versace, you know, all of these places and pitch his ideas. And now look at his shoes. I've never owned a pair of Yeezys. I'm not paying that kind of money for that kind of shoe. And I'm not big into sneakers. I'm not a sneakerhead. But, you know, props to him. You know, he did his thing and came out. And did it at the Gap, too. That's hard to do. You I don't know. I've never been to the Gap. But did his thing, so props to him. I don't know who this guy is, but I like some of the stuff he says. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I like some of the stuff he's got to say, so let's see what this one is.
Nobody cares about being called white supremacist or racist anymore. You guys have burnt out those terms to the point where real racist people get away with it. And what's worse is you're falling directly into the corporate media's games. There is no such thing as white or black. Like, please go take the time and start studying a map. Please go through the entire map of the entire planet and find me the country of white or black. And what's sad is you guys think you're actually doing something by leaving bullshit comments like this. But all you're doing is adding to the division. You're adding to the conflict, adding to the problem. And the ironic part about the situation is all the people who leave these kind of comments will have a BLM bumper sticker but never been invited over to dinner from an African American family. And the last time you guys tried to use this narrative to cancel me, it blew up in your face and I went super viral.
Maybe don't call them African American, because folks don't like that. Not African American.
I'm a German American, and I'm extremely proud of that.
I'm a German American. First generation German.
Germans and the Americans have accomplished a lot throughout history. And whether you like that or not, that is the truth. That is the case. These people have accomplished a lot of things. And if you would have just looked back 2 different videos, you would have saw that I was just talking about how Africa is going to be the next powerhouse of the world. And the one group of people that I have an issue with share the same pigment as me. Like, keep in mind that Ashkenazi Jews are just confused Germans. So you guys can keep spewing your bullshit all you fucking want, but it's not accomplishing anything. It's not helping the situation. It's just making everything worse.
No. Ashkenazi Jews are not confused Germans. They're not German. They're not German. Well, for one, he's way off. So the largest population of Ashkenazi Jews came out of Russia, not Germany. But we did have a lot of them, and we had a lot of other Jews. They're not German. It's not. They don't have German blood. That's the thing. They don't have our bloodline. They are not our bloodline. What they did was they came in and they stole history of actual Israelites, and yeah, just look at a map. Look at a map. Look at where the Semitic peoples come from. Look at who Semites are. Semitic peoples. Just look at a map. An older map. Don't look at a brand new map, because they've mangled and muggled things up. But yeah. So they stole other people's history because they wanted to have their history, and then they helped erase a people's history, took on someone else's history, and then whatever country they went into, they became a part of that country. But what they did was they would do everything as a citizen of that country but help the citizens of that country. So in World War II, the reasons that Germans were upset was because we had just lost World War I. Stock market crash, inflation went sky high. My grandparents, were all in this. My great uncles. My father told me about this. My father was born in 1939. And 36. Father was born in 1936. And just passed a few months ago. So yeah. They come in, they start up all of these businesses, because the Germans, that's where the word ghetto comes from. So the Germans would put them in the ghettos to keep them away from, regular Germans. So they invented projects. That's where ghettos came from. And so they put them in this area to where, they wanted this, though. They could be with each other and have their little stolen culture. Germans didn't have to really deal with them. Well, when it came to defend the country that gave them a home, a culture, a language, and accepted them, they did nothing. They didn't fight with us in the wars. They didn't help us when inflation happened and a loaf of Brochen, or bread, was $60, you know. The delicatessens that had all of the meat, the delis, all of the stuff that we like, they wouldn't help, you know. So that's what Germans were pissed about, because they're not our blood. Yeah, you get mixes. Yeah, they mixed with a lot of them, but originally, no, they're not. They're not German. So it's completely wrong there. Your history. I know history. My family goes back to the 16th century, Germany and Austria, so I've got a lot of books. I mean, we have our entire lineage written down. Even got shrunk in there. It's a big, not oak, made from big and marble from the 1500s, sitting in my. Do your history. Don't listen when people say stuff like that. If it feels off, just go look it up. Just do your research.
So is.
Nope, not listening to him again. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. This is phenomenal to me. I love when science tries to disprove what they call mythology, end up proving it. So let's get into it.
NASA captured heaven in an image.
Pay attention and listen, because NASA found heaven using the Hubble telescope. Look.
Hey, the Hubble telescope launched back in 1990. 4 years later, 1994, we get that image right there. Okay, you know, shot back down to Earth from the Hubble telescope. Now, what did NASA do? Of course, they tried to hide it, but it didn't work. Now, by the way, that picture right there, my uncle gave me that picture. It was taken by a photographer at Ellington Airfield of the Hubble telescope. You know, you guys know my uncle worked at NASA, and he told me that NASA, you know, does in fact try to hide images and anomalies from the public. Okay, I just wanted to include that little tidbit of information in my video today. By the way, my microphone shorted out. I'm using a different microphone, guys. So, but check it out. I mean, look, you can see towers, pillars, caves. I mean, it looks like a man-made building. Okay, this galactic city in the middle of the universe. I mean, this is mind-blowing. Like, you know, I thought it was fake, but this is, like I said, guys, this is a real NASA image leaked to the public. And I don't know why I've never heard about it. I was watching another channel last night, and they covered the topic here, and I was blown away. I mean, it's quite beautiful, actually. And the crazy thing is, okay, when it was leaked back in 1994, it was one day after Christmas. So was that intentional? You know, because they're calling it, you know, the city of God. You know, so to me, I mean, I don't know, was that someone at NASA that, you know, is basically trying to send us, you know, the American people, the Earth, the world, for the world, really, when we're talking about the Hubble telescope, are they trying to send us a message? I mean, what are we looking at here, guys? Crazy. I mean, it reminds me of, like, ancient ruins, like on Mars or the moon, or, you know, or any planet for that matter, but check it out. And it has like these weird domes and tower, almost like a watchtower, and you can actually see different rooms. And I mean, to me, there's too many shapes, and there's too much geography there. It doesn't look natural. Okay? And again, it's very beautiful to look at. You know, when I saw it, I just kind of stared at it for a while. I was like, wow, that is absolutely beautiful. But, I mean, right there's the original image right there. I did add a little bit of a filter, but like I said, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the original NASA image untouched. And also, we're going to zoom in here in a minute and, you know, get a really a good close look at it. You know, because, you know, you guys know I do everything I can to show you every bit of detail. I mean, right there, guys. Here we go. We're going to zoom in a little bit. I mean, that to me, I don't know, that does not look natural. And why would something like that be literally floating in space, right? And right there, you see that little tower? And is that like a little moon? Maybe they have two moons behind them. It looks like a city. You know, like something you would see like on Google Maps. I mean, totally crazy. Like there's a little tunnel right there, some caves, and almost like a V-shaped roof back there. You know, some type of awning. I don't know, guys. I mean, you tell me. You tell me what you think in the comment section, because, you know, I am completely blown away here. You know, and when you put all the facts together, the fact that it was leaked, okay, NASA tried to classify the picture, right? They tried to hide the picture from the public, but it was too late. Reporters already had their hands on it. And by the way, you know, it's kind of buried on the internet.
Pay attention to what he said, because his father used to work for NASA, and NASA would withhold images from the public. They didn't want anyone seeing these images. But this image right here is the one that got leaked in 1994. Now, the fact that this is a confirmed leak image from NASA and that the Hubble Space Telescope took this image, this holds some weight to it, and I'm finding it hard not to believe. But I'm going to do some digging and see what I could find. All you got to do is continue to pay attention, because things are getting weird.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think that NASA actually captured heaven? It's interesting. I can truthfully say that NASA has been doing Photoshop tens of years before Photoshop was ever even a thing. And I understand why they do certain things, because they try to remain neutral and all about science. So when they capture things that they can't readily explain, or the explanation is too outlandish and hasn't had sufficient studying on it, then they're going to keep it to themselves. Because when you do something like that, like you capture a picture of heaven, one of the James Webb Space Telescope's images is this beautiful, massive ArchAngel, hooded, holding a sword like this with wings out. It's my favorite picture. I'll find the link and link it in the description. It is and that came out like I think just under. They found that is what was in space. The size of this being is enormous. And I was surprised that they let that get out, because usually they try to stay neutral. They can't fully comprehend or define something, they'll keep it to themselves, because they don't want to present an agenda one way or the other. You know, they're all about science. If they can't explain it, quantify it, test it, then they don't want anything to do with it, even though it's right in their faces, you know. So, and I know that for a fact. I've experienced it. So, yeah, it's beautiful that that kind of stuff is out there. Let me know what you guys think. And we're going to wrap it up there. I got some more good stuff, but I just wanted to leave you on that high note right there, because I thought that was absolutely amazing, beautiful leak. If ever there's been a beautiful leak. But wait till you see the angel one I'm going to show you. I'm gonna link it in the description. That thing, when I saw that, I was scrolling through. I had collected maybe like 40 pictures, you know, and this is just like a few months after the James Webb was out there. Captured this, and I was like, no way, that's CGI. No way that's real. Then I load it into Adobe, and I'm going through the filters trying to see if anything was altered at all, and I'm, you know, doing all this stuff, and I'm not seeing any evidence of manipulation whatsoever, but it's on their site. And I was like, 30 years ago, NASA would have hidden that one. Absolutely, they would have. So let me know what you guys think of it. And we got some more good stuff coming out tomorrow. So I'll see you guys on the next one. That's a good note to end on. Let me know what you think in the comments. And do me a favor. It's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell. That way we can run the numbers up on the algorithm. Get this awareness out there to more people. That way, because we all have to stick together. That's one thing I will always promote. That's one thing I will always be a huge proponent of. Stick together. We are all going through this journey together. And the one thing they want is to be able to incite fear and show our differences and split us apart. That's what they want. Don't let that happen. Not let that happen. Sack up, whether you're a man or a woman. Sack the fuck up. Stick together. You can talk like an adult, still get your point across, still stick together, because we're all going through this together. So I'll see you guys on the next one.